there are people that if you ask them what your dreams are, they just stare at you blankly. We forget how to dream. We forget how to use our imagination. There's research around it. And then we lose our purpose and we lose our focus and we get depressed and we get anxious. It's important to help people understand who they are and help them uncover that.
This is a fun episode because way back on episode 29, I interviewed Brian Hess, who is the president and CEO of the Pavement Group. He and I have been friends for a long time. We've been talking about Dream Manager. He knows about it. And now, finally, he's making it happen. He's implementing the program. He found the perfect person to get certified. Eric Guy joins us on this episode as he just got certified to be the Dream Manager for the Pavement Group. They are so excited to roll the program out. So we talked a little about the certification, what it was like for him, why culture matters, why it's important to have a program like the Dream Manager, why dreams matter in an organization. And he shared some really great insight. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm excited about this conversation because you are newly certified as a Dream Manager. You came just a week or two ago.
1 week.
1 week. Woo! Celebrating 1 week already. And you guys are already just rocking and rolling. So I wanted to have you come on because you have worked with leaders for really your career is based on helping people become the best version of themselves and growing and helping businesses to grow and scale. So you're in this world. You're in the world of leadership and culture and really helping people. And so now you have a big tool in your tool chest that you can use to help people grow. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your journey, how you discovered the Dream Manager, and then we're going to dig into why is it important for the Pavement Group, the organization that you're going to be the Dream Manager for, and how that's going to impact the culture. So why don't we start with a little bit of who you are, a little bit about your background, and then we'll dig into Dream Manager.
Well, my background actually is I'm still a licensed therapist, but that's how I got started. I just kept studying something called reactive attachment disorder and got to be pretty much an expert in it, I would say. I had a lot of clients that were driving 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours just for a 1 hour appointment. So I just decided to create my own program, and I go in and I stay with people in their homes for a period of days and had a lot of success. And one thing led to another. Because it was private pay, a lot of those folks were higher up in companies. And they said, hey, look, you needed to come do this in my company. Same kind of thing. And one thing led to another. And here I am. Over 90% of our clients are actually businesses now. Same kind of issues, same kind of problems and challenges. I do enjoy it. It's kind of funny. It is the same stuff, like with relationships, attachment, and everything else like that. We don't call it that, but it's pretty much the same.
All right. So that's awesome. And I know Dream Manager has been in your life for a while.
So a long time.
Talk about how did you find the book? What resonated with you about it?
I don't know how I actually first got on the book because it's been out for a long, long time. I give away a lot of books, but that is the one I've given away the most to the most people, to the most family members. But I read that and I was like, oh my goodness, like what if this actually could happen? And at that point in time, I just read the book. I didn't go any further. So this has been years and years ago. I just thought, wow, this would really be cool if somebody actually did this inside of a company, because I could really see myself doing that. I mean, when you start talking one-on-one with people and some of the cohorts we were doing with some of the companies, people start to talk about that. They start to talk about their dreams. They start to talk about their challenges. And if only I could get here, if only I could get there. And in some companies, we've been doing it for many, many years. But every graduating class, I would always hand out that book. I would always hand out the Dream Manager.
I know. It's so interesting how that happens and how many dreams we might have on our list that it's timing, right? Maybe it just wasn't the right time for whatever reason. And so you keep it on your list. And as long as it's in your heart and you keep thinking about it and You just never know what's going to happen. It is interesting because Brian, the president of the Pavement Group, so we've been friends for about 5 years, and we're talking to him about the Dream Manager and the book, and you need a dream manager, and then all of a sudden, as I'm literally on a train to do a training in Tampa, Florida, and I get a text from Brian that says, guess what book keeps showing up in our group trainings? The Dream Manager. Is it a sign? And I was like, finally, Brian, are you finally going to pull the trigger and do this thing? Let's go. And then I text him back, and immediately I get a phone call from Brian, and he says, not even hello. It just says, Kate, meet Eric. Eric, meet Kate. He's going to be our Dream Manager.
Yeah. And that's how it happened. We were sitting in this studio. He was actually sitting to the left of me. One of the members had taken my recommendation and read that, and he mentioned it again. And he's like, I know the CEO. I'm like, the CEO of what? And he's like, the Dream Manager. I'm like, okay. So he's, my interest is very piqued at this. I'm like, how do you know? Like, are you just kind of name dropping, or do you actually know her? Well, I didn't know who, but I didn't know who he was talking about yet. And I was like, he's like, I know her really well. I'm like, okay. And he just literally had his phone here, and he's like, we called, and that's when, you answered. And he did say that. He's like, Eric, meet Kate, Kate, meet Eric. And I already knew everything. He's asking you questions, and he said, when's the next one? And you were like, February 3rd and 4th. And I'm like, oh my goodness, please let this hit. Is this really going to happen? And I'm getting all excited, literally sitting pretty much where I'm at right now. And a few days followed, and we went back and forth. I'm like, hey, look, are we going to do this? Are we really going to do this? Like, feeling kind of anxious and just anticipating it. And finally, we got everything straightened out, because it was only about a week and a half, maybe 14 days before the certification was supposed to happen. There wasn't much time. Wasn't much time at all.
And you did it.
So here's the other thing that was really cool. The Thursday that the paperwork all got through, I was he's a VP now at a company, but he was probably literally one of the first people that I ever gave the Dream Manager to. And I was with him 2 hours away from where I'm at now. I was with him that day when the email came in. I'm talking to him about it, telling him all about this, how excited I am, because I've watched him grow up. Like, I've mentored him, this gentleman, and I look at my email, I'm like, oh my goodness, this couldn't happen in a better place. We're doing this because he's probably going to do it with his company. There's no doubt. I mean, we talked yesterday. He's like, well, tell me all about it. So I'm going down next week, and we're going to talk about it. But it was just ironic that it hit that day, and that was that Thursday. And then I was there Sunday.
It's not ironic. It's perfect. It's perfectly beautiful. And it's the way that it was supposed to happen. And I'm so thrilled, and I'm so excited. And I'm so excited that the Pavement Group is finally on board with the Dream Manager, and that you get to serve as the Dream Manager. It's going to be awesome. So tell us a little bit about your experience, especially someone like you who, we do work with a lot of people, some of whom just heard of the Dream Manager and read it, and they come and get certified, so they don't have a lot of experience with it. You're someone who have, for years and years, you were giving out the book, you're talking about it, you were already like kind of living that culture of dreaming. So talk about your experience getting certified. What was that like? Was it everything you imagined and more?
Yeah, well, it actually was, because I do a lot of training.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly in front of groups. And one of the things my wife actually said, she's like, are you really going to sit through a class for 2 days? Like, when's the last time you actually did this? Like, you're going to have to go back a long, long time since you were not the instructor. Are you going to be disruptive? Or, she's like, going down through the list. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think I'm going to be interested in all this stuff. I think it's going to be really good. This is a dream. It just happened it took some time, so to speak. And I was locked in for 2 days. And I know that because I was so behind in my emails Wednesday and Thursday after the training, because usually if I'm sitting in something that, I can still pay attention to them. And then at night, I'm not looking, I'd be answering emails, but I was locked in for those 2 days. It did surprise me, though. I was kind of blown away how some people just didn't know about it yet. I don't know why I was shocked by that.
Well, because it's been in your life for so long.
Yeah.
So for you,
like you didn't read, like somebody said they just read the book on the way down. Well, I know nothing about the Dream Man. I'm like, really? What? Like your company sent you and you don't know anything. I mean, which happens a lot probably, but it was just, we've been using it so much, in our company. My wife said the same thing. She's like, well, they didn't know what it was. And I'm like, yeah, can you believe it? She's like, no, not really. And, because my kids have read it, my kids' significant others. I mean, everybody has read that. And it is a book that we constantly give to people. Actually, there's another company that wants to do it. And I actually just met with them this past Tuesday. And one of the things that I guess that he would be is their head engineer. It's a manufacturing plant. And he's like, the homework was to read the Dream Manager, right? Because I didn't have the certification plan. I just had given out the book when they graduated from the first year of their cohort. I'm like, oh yeah. And it's going to be bigger than I ever thought it was. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah.
So cool. Talk a little bit about your experience, especially from a trainer's perspective, what are some of the things that surprised you? Because you do know the book, but what a lot of people don't realize is how rich the content is, that there actually is a curriculum that goes along. Some people we hear from and they say, oh yeah, we've been doing the Dream Manager for a year or two, but they really haven't because they don't have a certified Dream Manager. They don't know the curriculum. They don't know how to roll it out to their team. So was there something that surprised you or that you found to be like the most intriguing when it came to certification?
The curriculum for sure. I don't think it's overwhelming. It's nice. It's very, pointed. You can follow it. It's not, I don't think it's too overwhelming. It breaks it up very nicely. For me, it fits into everything that I've ever done too. How it splits it up it's just it's a nice pace. It's a nice cadence. That's how I've always done things too. I've done the year programs. So I've got a couple companies now that are in their third, fourth, or fifth year of doing different things. But I just like how it's broke up. I like that. For some reason, I like the shorter binder. I like how you can take the lessons out and they're all divided into, it's just very nicely done how it goes into the, the book, The Rhythm of Life. I like that check because anybody can do that check, right? A lot of people, because we do so many assessments in our company, a lot of people are waiting for me to read something or to give them feedback. It's like, well, you don't really need that with this. Like everybody can be on the same page very quickly. And it gives people like, here's the guidance, here's the target, here's what we're going to do every month. What's happening. And I think that the thing of it is everybody will have that. I haven't rolled it out yet, but everybody will have that and that'll create the buzz in any company.
Yeah. So Eric's talking about the Rhythm of Life scorecard where you're rating yourself red, yellow, green on your physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. And like you said, it's so simple. That's the one thing I so appreciate about the curriculum. And Matthew was so intentional about this because Matthew values simplicity and it's really seen in all of his work. But the simplicity of the curriculum, it's important, right? Because many of us have probably taken courses or programs and you jump out after like one or two lessons because it's overwhelming. There's too much. It's confusing. It just feels like a lot. But this is rich content, like deep content, but it's simple. It's very masterfully done. It's a skill, right? It's a skill that people have to learn in order to create that type of work for people, that type of workbook and curriculum for people to use. And it's also just a bonus for someone like you that has a coaching background. But like you said, there's people that were not as familiar with the Dream Manager and that are not familiar with formal type coaching. And so it's great for them too. Like that's what I love about when you said that you appreciated it so much. It's almost like you being an experienced trainer all the way down to the person that has never coached before. It works for everyone and everyone works together and learns together and grows together. So that's part of what we love about just everyone's at kind of a different level when they show up.
It really is laid out very nicely. I like it. I like how I'm excited to kind of roll it out. Brian hasn't given me the final number here, but I think we're going to do it here first with the leadership team from TPG. I don't know if I'm giving out too much or not. I don't. He probably doesn't care. Talking about good timing. Like if I would have missed this opportunity with him because I do believe he'll take it a lot farther than where I was going to do it before. But there's no doubt in my mind. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind.
You work with a lot of people. You work with a lot of companies now and have been for years. Why does this matter? Like, why is this important for people? Why is a dream manager important? Why is culture important?
I mean, we have lives outside of work. You think about your closest friends. We share everything. I don't just talk to you, Kate, about just business. We're already deep into life. I mean, we're talking about doing hikes together. I mean, that face-to-face was just the first time at the certification. When you think about that, like people want, I think, to give them a platform to be heard, to pour into them. Like, and that's just going to create engagement. That's what's really important for the culture is that engagement. Because people often ask, even just with Brian, are like, well, why do you do this with him? Why do you do that with him? I'm like, well, you just have to come see. This is everything that I always talk about. Does he do it perfect? Absolutely not. Does he do it with the same amount of passion that I think I have in my heart? Absolutely. And that's what people need. And you can see it in a culture like this, right? Just to be engaged with people and ask them about what's going on. And you think about it, people that aren't like us that don't do stuff like this. There are people that if you ask them what your dreams are, they just stare at you blankly. I know because we've been doing a community vision day for the past 3 years, and we've done a vision day with our kids since they were little in their mid-20s now. We forget how to do that. We forget how to dream. We forget how to use our imagination. There's research around it, right? Especially about our imagination as adults. I mean, and then we lose our purpose and we lose our focus and we get depressed and we get anxious. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but it's important to help people understand who they are and help them uncover that. Think about the great mentors you've had that have pushed you a little bit, that told you your dreams weren't silly or go after it or you should do that. We only need one person like that in our life. And because I've seen it, I just got in, I think it was right after the certification, I got a nice little LinkedIn message from a lady. I haven't heard from her and, I probably haven't seen her since 2016 or 2017. And it was just a big thank you. Thank you for helping me really follow. I wish I had it in front of me. It was just a big, long kind of email that said, thank you for really pushing me to dream. I'm like, this is what I was doing. I loved it, but this is where I'm at. It's crazy what she's doing now from where she was at.
That's why coaching is such a gift. You are giving a gift when you see that spark in someone else, when you see someone else's superpower before they notice it, or they just haven't had that encouragement from someone. And I wonder how many people's lives have been impacted because of that one thing that you said, that one text that you said, that you sent, that one note that you gave them. Just, it could be the smallest thing. I remember conversations. I had a friend of mine from college reach out to me years after college. This was maybe like however many years ago. I've been out of college a long time, but however long it was, but years after we graduated. And she said, do you remember this night and what you said? I remembered the night, but I didn't remember the conversation. And she's like, that's stuck with me till this day. And I'm thinking, wow, like think about how many of us are walking around and you have said something that has impacted someone and you didn't even know it, like how much it influenced them. And so this is why we get to share our ideas with the world and encourage people and help people. That is what coaching does. And one of the things I love about the Pavement Group and your fearless leader over there, Brian Hess, who has his own podcast and is on his own crazy journey of just doing remarkable things in the world. But he has such a heart for helping people. And because of that, the business success that he has been remarkable. You work with a lot of leaders and they come to you because obviously they want to grow, they want to scale, whatever it is that their dream is. What do you find is the biggest challenge for these top level leaders? What are they dealing with? What are they coming to you for? What do they need help with?
they definitely need help with their people. A lot of them just can't understand. They understand the business well. They just don't understand the people side well, or they want to get it, but they really don't want to get it because they don't want to put in the work to get it, because it's so much easier on the business side to do things for them, right? And when you work in this way, I think what scares a lot of leaders is the feeling of relinquishment of control, like when you're investing in your people. I've seen some leaders, I've worked with some leaders that have let that go and things have started going well and they sabotage it because it's like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. I have that all the time, especially like after the first or second year that I work with a company where I'm doing the cohorts. All the time after the first year, the leaders will all come back. They haven't said anything the whole entire year, most of the time. And then when we get to graduation, I don't know what you even do with them, but you can see the fruit. One, if you want, stop in. I'm sure they would love for you to stop in but two, you just haven't asked, but you're seeing the fruit of what's going on in there. Why do you need to know? And it's just, they don't have control of it. They don't know what's going on. That's why I appreciate Brian, because he's like, yeah, whatever. Like, he's just looking at the result. He's like, I know that works. And that was what really pushed him, I believe, to finally pull the trigger and do the Dream Manager certification. He believed in it. He just didn't have anybody to do it.
Yeah.
And once it showed up, it was like, oh, let's do it. And I'm like, oh man, I'm the person. Yeah.
That's why I think it's so interesting, and like timing, it's so important for timing. And for anyone that's listening that is curious about and thinking about certification, and they might not know where to start or where to begin, that's okay. Just come get certified. Like, we help you work through all of those things. Like, how are you going to roll it out, what you're going to do with the program, and how you're going to serve your people, and who is going to be the Dream Manager. We have some companies that they hire someone specifically, kind of like you, right? Like, they hire someone specifically to work on people development, and then they become the certified Dream Manager. Sometimes it's someone from their HR department or a culture department or somebody in their organization. But that shows up all the time when we're talking to leaders. Once we have the people conversation, all of a sudden you see that little light in their eye, and they're like, ooh, Sarah on our team would be amazing for this. And now you get to gift that person, hey, this person loves people. They love helping people grow. This could be something that's going to really empower them. So it's empowering someone on your team, and you're going to see all of that, all those benefits, because now you're feeding into your people, which is what we need to do for organizations.
Just to know their dreams, right? Like, because I know a lot, and Brian has already been doing this, but he's helping people with their dreams.
Yes.
And that's the other thing, when you help people with their dreams. And I said this to my kids, the big aha for me that year, we do a lot of reflection questions and things like that. And there's probably even a few of Matthew's questions in our Vision Day reflection. But I just said to them, I said, I want to know your goals so badly, because I get so much satisfaction with helping you, like more satisfaction than I get achieving my own. I want to be part of yours, which is fun, because when I was down there on the second day, I text my daughter who works in our company. I said, hey, look, I know this is going to go gangbusters. This is going to go off the charts for us, but will you be my first dreamer?
I love that.
She's like, I should have went with you. I'm like, yeah, you probably should have. They still have more, so you could come back. But she's going to be my first streamer, so we got to put that all in play. And I think we'll probably start actually next week.
I love that. Oh, I love it. All right, Eric, because you work with a lot of leaders and our audience loves questions. We love a good question, right? As a coach, you ask great questions. Right. Am I putting you two on the spot if I ask you for like 3 questions that the listeners can ask themselves to help them become a better leader? Or maybe just to help them through a challenge that they're going through or a dream they're trying to achieve?
Yeah, I think getting clarity. I mean, one of the things that I often ask people, I think I do it every year at one of the universities retreats that we do for the financial guys. I always ask them, what are your 3 biggest dreams, your most meaningful dreams this year? Like, what do you need to focus on? And as a family, we've really embraced that. My wife has really embraced that. So the question was, what are your 3 biggest dreams? She'll go out, and for all of us, so there's 6 of us at Family Vision Day, she goes out and gets little like champagne bottles. And our 3 biggest ones, we tie a string around it with a kind of a little heart that says what dream that is. When we get it done, then we call everybody and celebrate. We celebrate. One of our core values is got cowbell. So we ring the cowbell in a celebration and we pop that little champagne bottle. I guess that would be one of them. Another question I think is really helpful. I don't know if you would feel the same way, but like, what do you really want? What do you really want? Not what everybody else wants from you, but what do you really want?
It's so funny that you say that, because this is a question we ask our clients all the time. It's such a good one, especially when we're going in all these different directions. I could do this, I could do that. There's all these challenges. And we get so caught up in our head. And then to have somebody just ask you that simple, what do you really want? It's almost like sometimes it feels like you get kicked in the gut. You're like, oh, wait a second. I don't even remember. I need to think about this. So I love that question. That's a great one.
And then I think for the last one, let's go real deep in a heart one that I always like to ask my family is, who do you want to love more than you ever have this year?
Oh, I love that.
So more deeply, however you want to state that, like to think about that, like, because sometimes the people that are nearest and dearest to us, whether they're family or friends, we don't appreciate them enough.
Isn't that the truth? I love that. Who do you want to love more deeply this year? That's a great one. That is a heart question, Eric. I love it. All right. Well, what would you share to somebody that is considering or thinking about becoming a certified dream manager and they're like, I'm not sure? What would be your words to this leader?
I'm not sure what you're not sure about. That's what I would say. Like when I even thought about doing it, it was just like I was moving towards it. It just didn't happen. And I just waited for another opportunity. Like I said, fortunately I did. But if you have the ability to go do it, or you're a leader and you actually have somebody in your company, it should be a no-brainer. Like if you have the resources to do it, there's no way it couldn't pay dividends for you, especially as a leader, especially if you already have somebody in place that could do it. Just do it. Like just go ahead and pull the trigger and make the commitment to do it. I can't see how it wouldn't pay dividends for a company. Yes.
Yes and yes. Eric, thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited to see. I'm just so excited about the program and to see what we get to dream up together and how it's going to impact your people. And so we'll have to have you come back on in a year and just talk about the impact.
It's going to be big. I know it's going to be big. It's going to be big here.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. You guys are going to be one of our favorite success stories. I can already tell. Let's make it happen.
Line it up.
Oh, my gosh. I love it. I hope you got at least one idea or takeaway or some type of inspiration in this episode. If nothing else, you got 3 great questions to think about, to journal about, and to move you forward in whatever dreams you're working on in your life. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. And until next time, lead with culture.